For USCFootball.com, I'm Keely Orr here with Dan Weber for instant analysis of the 6-player run practice of June. And it was an interesting Tuesday for sure. We only saw Matt Fink participate in the practice. JT Daniels was there and was going through the playbook but didn't actually throw. Jack Sears, we believe, had a class today, so it was definitely scarce as far as quarterbacks go. Holden Thomas, the walk-on, got a lot of reps as well. So it was an interesting day in that regard. Dan, how did you think Matt Fink did with all the time that he had?
I don't know. I thought he looked better when the night we had the two quarterbacks and they were alternating. I don't know if that was because Moore was on him tonight or whatever, but it didn't seem like there was a lot of zip and oomph and whatever. A lot of I don't know, not a lot of fire, not a lot of excitement. Kind of more going through the motions, and again, we don't know how these things are, how they figure them out in terms of what do they want to get accomplished tonight, how much did they do in strength and conditioning, and all of that. So, it's hard. It didn't have the same sense of what it looks like when JT's out there. Or I thought Jack Sears had the last Friday, he had a really good practice. So it didn't have that sense about it. So, they kind of they got through it, didn't, do anything real noteworthy. But I thought it was an opportunity for Matt. I'm not sure he took the opportunity tonight.
That's what I was going to ask you, is not to put too much emphasis on just one PRP, but this seemed like the night for Matt Fink to really take the reins and take charge and step into that leadership role, as well as make a couple plays. If you're the only scholarship quarterback out there, do you feel like he took full advantage of that?
No, and again, we don't know what the setup was in terms of what he was supposed to take, but I think it reverted a little bit to the sense that you got some of those spring practices where you just saw the offense not really come together. I don't know if they ran almost any running plays, but not enough that made it think like, okay, they're really, really working on that. But I don't think, we're trying to, talk about what the difference is. And I think there are a lot of times, I know the shadows are not good and all of that, but there were a lot of times I didn't see a recognition of where the open receiver was or the ability to throw the ball before the cut is made. And sometimes not the ability to see the receiver after the cut is made. So, I think probably the whole team, I think, had a struggle, the offense at least, for sure, in the spring, thinking, man, if we're going to have trouble, throwing the ball or hitting the open receiver or getting what we need to get out of the quarterback, it's going to be a tough way to go. Then you've had JT Daniels for most of the summer, and you get a sense of, okay, it's going to be all right. And I thought both the other quarterbacks have kind of raised their game, but tonight wasn't one of those nights. But again, we may be assigning way too much in terms of how this fits in or where it fits in. It just wasn't one of those moments where you say, this team is better off as a result of tonight's workout, or this offense is better off. Not sure I think you could say that.
Mm-hmm. Now, on the defensive side of things, we got a couple comments. Well, why didn't you ever mention the safeties or the cornerbacks? And it's partially because PRPs help or are in favor of the wide receivers just because there's no pads, there's no tackling. So the DBs aren't really going at full speed because they can't fully. But how would you say that the DBs have looked at these past 6 practices?
Well, I think they're running along. We haven't seen too many of the busts, although unfortunately tonight, the first deep ball on 11-11, you had been thinking, wow, at least they're catching the ball tonight, and Matt hits Tyler against what looked like busted coverage for what's an obvious TD, and he bobbles the ball. Now he caught the next one, 40-yard TD. But mostly, we haven't seen, coverage busts, and we've seen, and I reacted once tonight, for example, they didn't have somebody in there at the correct position, and they called, and you've got the two kind of mother hens, Cameron Smith and and Port Augustine, and they called one of the corners and said, "We need you out here." And he kind of took his time getting out and just sort of jogged onto the field. And that, I don't like to see that. I would like to see him, if they do anything out of this, is have the ability to go full speed and to really, really, really play with a lot of enthusiasm. And so anytime you have just a play like that, I think you haven't taken a step forward. And so, again, we're still in June, and got a long way to go, but you hate to see them miss some opportunities. And yeah. I think for the defense, they do more dummy work than the offense does, and they stay in their groups. When they start practice after calisthenics, more alignments and recognitions and working on stunts and coverages and all of that. And they keep, even when the offense is starting to throw the ball, they're still working on those things. So it looks like for the defense, it's more of a mental thing and more of a discipline thing. And they kind of, allow the offense to do what they do. I mean, they're not trying to just completely take, the offense out of their game. How that, works out down the road, you want them to know everything that they're supposed to do and get all the calls right, all the reactions right, all the alignments right, and all that. But you also probably would like to see them at times just really go hard. You don't want to get anybody injured.
Yeah.
But you'd like to see them playing full speed, because if the defense doesn't play full speed, you're probably not getting the offense to go full speed either. And I just think you're better off if you see him going full speed. I didn't think tonight was a full speed night.
No. And of course, we don't really know the whole story behind that. Maybe it was a tough conditioning night tonight. But you mentioned a mother hen, one of those, Cam Smith. I think he's worth spotlighting just because every practice you see him with that thick playbook in his hand. And even when he's not in at middle linebacker, he's standing behind the quarterbacks checking to make sure every defender is where they need to be. For Cam, how much does that help him as a middle linebacker if he knows he's starting to memorize where everyone needs to be on the field?
Yeah, I think it's one of the reasons that you're seeing him on almost all the first-team All-America teams on defense, because he's been here. He's, made so many tackles. He's played in so many games. He's, a senior who maybe didn't have to come back this year, and is coming back because he really wants to have a great year with his team. And he's the coach on the field. He's the player coach. There's no question about it. And I think, the great USC teams almost all the time have had linebackers who were kind of a coach on the field. I think it really, really matters. And so I think from that standpoint, this has been a good summer. I think Port Augustine the same way. This has been a good summer. You mentioned Malik Thornton, and I watched him more and more. Not only, I think Malik looks like, to me, he's getting bigger. You don't always look at guys, when they're 21, 22 years old, but he looks like he's, more, he's rangier than he's been. He looks like he's in great shape, and he looks like he's taking it seriously. Jenny Harris would be a fourth, who was here when I got here at 5. He's out there working on catching punts, and Chris Tilby was out there, Damon Johnson, the long snapper, and and we know that, the trouble that Jenny had last year catching punts, tracking them down. Well, he's out there, half hour before they start and tracking them down. And I really love his leadership. So we're seeing a lot of that with the guys that are going to be the defensive leaders this year.
Mm-hmm. And with that uncertainty at the quarterback position, how much does it help to have those defensive guys, such a solid core of leaders on this team?
Well, I think, that's how you want to go into this season. It reminds me a lot of maybe 2003 when, Carson Palmer had left and Troy Polamalu had left, and they'd gotten things going. Pete Carroll's second year, they'd gone to the, they were in the top 4, so they got a spot in the Orange Bowl, and they, beat Big Ten co-champs Iowa, decisively. And then, Carson leaves, Troy leaves, and they've got a quarterback that they're not that sure of in Matt Leinart. They're going to open at At Auburn, where it ended up with a ton of guys that went on to the NFL on a team that some people thought could win the national championship. They go into Auburn in the opener, and they shut them out 23-0. They won on defense, and that's probably, I think, the best model for this team is you go on the road early in the year and you win with defense, and that's what they're going to have to do. I think going to Stanford week 2 and Texas week 3, and you look at all the preseason stuff, and most of them have Stanford either one spot ahead of USC or right behind them, and Texas in the same neighborhood. So I think the thing that gets you through games like that on the road, and that's what the USC teams that were really good USC teams early in Pete's time, they love to go on the road. They love to play in front of the other crowd, and they love to take those people out of the games. And that's, I think, if there's something that has to happen this year, you've got, Clay Helton is undefeated in the Coliseum. He's 8-6 on the road.
Yeah.
And I think that could be the big test, and I think a lot of that will fall to this defense. So we're seeing the kind of leadership that they're going to probably need to be able to survive that early season. But we also have to see the quarterbacking and getting the ball to the right place at the right time. And there's just a big pick-me-up when that happens. That there's just, it was kind of a pall over the spring ball when there was a sense of, yeah, but if we do this, are we still going to be able to score the ball? Are we still going to be able to move the ball? And I think we had a little bit of that tonight.
Mm-hmm. Now, if I know the peristyle, which I think I do, I think they're going to be a little panicked by what they heard tonight. Defense not going full speed, the quarterback struggling a little bit, offense struggling a little bit. What is your takeaway? I mean, it's one PRP. It's almost the end of June. What's your takeaway? Should they be panicked or not?
Well, what I like to do is just tell you what I'm seeing. It's like if you're next to me, this is what you'd be seeing. Okay, I'm not telling you to panic. I'm not telling you that JT is the answer to all of USC's problems. I'm not telling you that, I think there's a major flaw if they're not going all out on a night like this. I mean, I'm just telling you what we're seeing.
Yeah.
And that's all. We would like you to be able to draw some conclusions. We try to be your eyes and ears here, but we don't want to, to take it, as you say, to that logical end, which is, oh my God, the world is ending. Why should I even buy tickets? I'm not even going to turn on the Stanford game. And you read that now where guys say, well, they can't beat Stanford at Stanford. That's crazy. I mean, or they can't beat Texas at Texas. We're not saying any of that. We're just commenting on tonight's practice. And if there are places, and I could be wrong. I mean, maybe they needed to go at it at the pace they went at it tonight.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can just tell you the pace I saw them going at, and whether they got enough out of all of the things that the defense did in terms of reading and reacting and all of that, and that that's plenty for them to get out of tonight, and that they didn't need to go full speed and all that. I'll let you make that case, and I'm not going to say that's the wrong case, but yeah, I don't think you want to take. This is one night in the summer with 2 of the 3 scholarship quarterbacks not here. I think they had 9 guys working out on the offensive line. I think when the season comes around, that's not going to be the case.
No.
Just hold your fire and relax, and things are. I think one of the things that gets us to this point tonight is they have really looked pretty good.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways in the summer. I mean, and they've got a freshman quarterback who everybody in the country probably would be, and I know there were a couple of kids out of Georgia and all that who were very highly ranked and what have you. I don't know that you could feel any better about a freshman quarterback coming in than USC can feel right now. He wasn't out there tonight throwing, so you take a little step back, but in terms of just tonight's practice.
Yeah.
But no, I don't overanalyze it. Don't over take it to the the end of the summer and what does this mean for those second and third weeks on the road and all that. That's not what we're telling you about. But we do want to tell you this is kind of what we're seeing and this is our impression, and we're not going to try to say it's looked better. We're not going to sugarcoat it or overstate how it looks. We're just going to tell you, hey, this is what we saw.
All right, well, I guess that's going to wrap it up for PRP number 6. For Dan Weber, I'm Keely Orr. For more, check out uscfootball.com.